I'm going to ideally show you how the anti-backfit works, so you've got an understanding for realistic results, system building, but importantly, understanding how your systems work when it comes to the system creation process. So if I come over to research and I use the same system as using earlier, which is HP back 4 days, and we look at this here, you can see over the past 3 months, this is the profit and loss, drawdown, all the other stats in between, and over the full period from January 21 up to here, up to the past 3 months, which is obviously up to March, we can see that we've got the result data here, and this is the accurate result data for this system, betting fully automated over that period of time. But the actual system creation aspect uses data from here up to the anti-backfit range that you set over here. So if I want to create a system and base it on an anti-backfit range of 12 months, for example, I can see over the past 12 months things have gone very well, and we've got the full range, but the actual filters here now are based on this range to this range. So all the systems that have been included with the free example systems and the paid for portfolio bet systems have now been created using the 3-month anti-backfit range, because I think that is much more relevant. And previously they were created with the 12-month anti-backfit range because, which I will explain, we thought, both Mr. Allen and myself, I'm not throwing him under the bus because it was a learning curve for both of us, because we thought the anti-backfit range was not as useful as it actually is. We thought it was just showing a representation of the full range, but just highlighting the past 3 months. So this data down here, which we came to realize, was not the full range. Instead, it was from here to here, which is far more useful, which is fantastic. So this is good news in that way, because it's actually a much more useful feature, because it does actually give you, I mean, effectively you're saying, well, if I'd have selected these filters over here for my system and I'd have started it here, what would the results have been? So this gives you like your paper traded period, which is great, obviously. And the wider you set this range, out of interest, you can say, well, obviously if I'd have want to look at this from here to here, you're not looking at the setup that you had with the 3-month anti-backfit range. You're looking at the setup here. So things you want to look for really is anything that would dramatically change if you did shift that anti-backfit range when you're creating a system, because if that's the case, it's probably telling you that you're over backfitting your system. So that is useful to know. If you set it to 3 months and then you work out a system using the data from here to here, that is relevant data, and everything from here to here that shows the results, and you can see that it is positive, 50 points, 24 point drawdown, very good AE, good yield, etc., all good, number of bets, all that kind of stuff. So that system over this period, when it was created from here to here, but you can see historically that it's not all been a rose garden over this period, so you need to factor that in as well with your decision making. So you would say, okay, well, what if I'd used data from here to here and then it showed that? Would I still have had this system? But you wouldn't have had as much data to base it on, would you? So you'd have to also factor that in. There's a lot of things that you need to think about when creating these systems. If you'd have looked at it from here to here, you'd have probably shelved the idea. This is why you need a good range of data, which we have, because it goes from January 21 up to the present day, to actually form a good opinion with these back-tested systems, so you're not back-fitting them. That's the best way you can really put it. So because we have got a good range of data, you're able to see over a period of time that this system is actually worthwhile. Most recently from 2023 2024, you can see they really picked up. So these filters are very relevant over this period to this period, even though it did have a lot of, stagnation with the progress and some downturn and a bit of frustration and all that stuff, even at its sort of point here where it was kind of dipping below, it still generated over 184 points within a couple of years. So that, to me, you have to think, okay, well, that is still pretty good. And over that period of time, you're looking at 62 point drawdown over here. So for that, based on that, you have to make your own decision and weight it accordingly with your own rationale. But the point of the video, getting back to that, because this is related, is that your systems now are all created using a 3-month anti-backfit filter. These filters here represent everything from here to here. So things will change with these filters when you actually adjust the anti-backfit, because then you're working from this range to this range instead of working from this range to this range, which is obviously closer to the present day. And in my opinion, where you need to be when you're creating these systems, with these filters will represent all of that data for you. It's not including, if I was to put this, for example, on 0, so there's no anti-backfit range in there. This now includes from here to here. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I'd recommend you use some anti-backfit in there to give you the best chance of assessing how things will be. For example, if you use the filters selected and then you had some period of time where you can see with those filters selected how the betting would run. So in this example, it would have made a loss. With the overhaul example, you can see that it made a profit and it performed well. I hope that gives you a good explanation of understanding the anti-backfit for realistic results. Any questions, of course, let me know. Thank you.